112. The Pacers improved to 13-1 in their last 14 games on the road. The Clippers drop a heartbreaker, leading by as many as 22, falling behind down 13, leading by as many as 7, and losing by 7 down the stretch. 22 from Norm, 22 from Harden. Both of them played 36-plus minutes. Kawhi, a season-high 34 minutes. He looked great in the fourth, 11 points in that quarter, and closes with 19 on the ball game. Harden, a double-double with 10 assists. Zubac with his 31st double-double, 18 points and 15 rebounds. And the Clippers' Achilles heel comes back to bite them. They will take on the only team that turns it over more in Utah on Saturday and look to bounce back and end the losing streak as they fall against the Pacers 119 to 112. Adam Osland is going to take over when we return. The Clippers fought. They fell down. They got back up off the canvas. They punched late, but they could not finish in the final minutes of the night. For Carlo Jimenez, Big Brother Jake Warner, our engineer, Chris Taylor, who was working overtime today here in the broadcast booth, and Adam Osland. We will see you in a few. Clippers fall to Indiana, 119-112. They will look for their first win on this homestand. Coming up on Saturday, we'll talk to you at 7 o'clock against Utah. But don't go anywhere. Adam's going to take over when we return on the Clippers Audio Network. Take it away, Daniel West.
Well, guys, as Carlos said, Achilles heel is turnovers. And it turned this into one of the biggest comebacks in the NBA this season. Clippers led by 22. And there was a 29-point turnaround in a quarter. Right, Carlo? That's unbelievable.
Yes, sir.
You go from being up 22 in the second quarter to down by as many as 7. That is a bad loss. And they're finding different ways to lose right now.
Every loss, Adam, hurts.
Yep.
Phoenix hurts. Toronto.
This Clippers team needs another ball handler and Bogey or somebody off the buyout quick. For those who don't like Ben Simmons, I'm here to tell you, they could use some of what he brings.
They could just use a guy whose only job is to break a press.
Bogey is a decent ball handler. He would help. I don't know if that's going to be enough for everything this team needs right now.
I just don't think. Can James Harden play 38 minutes?
He looks tired. Kawhi's looked tired at times, but he did play 34 tonight, guys. If you're looking for a silver lining, Kawhi played the most minutes he's played all season. And he started the fourth, right?
Yep. Played
So
the
he
first
played
9
10
minutes
Yeah.
of that fourth quarter.
No, sir. But I appreciate you.
Is here and
just
now.
The inexcusable turnovers that come in bunches from this team when the ball pressure is ramped up by the opposition. I've been saying this since the Warriors game where they had that 12 turnover fourth quarter, a game they won. Said, guys, this was bad. This put out a ton of game tape for other teams to look at and say, oh, there's their big flaw. There it is. And they had some bad ones at the beginning of the season, too, where they had bad turnovers late in games. Eubanks was good. Well, the Clippers initially set the pace, up by as many as 22 in the first half of this ball game, just to fall by 7. Your final, Pacers 119, Clippers 112. Welcome back into Intuit Dome. I'm Adam Osland. After the Clippers relinquish a 22-point lead, and it happened within the span of a quarter. In that second quarter, they led by as many as 22. The Pacers were turning around to lead by as many as 7. Clippers are down by 3 at the half, up by 4 heading into the fourth quarter, and would lose this game by 7, even though they led by 5 late. I'm Adam Osland. This is your post-game locker room show. Let's head back over to your radio voice of the Clippers in Carlo Jimenez. Carlo, just a brutal loss where the Clippers came out, shot out of a cannon, looking like they were about to respond after what we thought was their worst loss of the season on Tuesday to the Lakers by 25. This is going to give that one a run for its money, just considering the Clippers led by as many as 22.
Adam, they had 2 excellent quarters today. You think about the first quarter in which you win by 20, you win the third quarter by 7, but you hold the Pacers to just 20 points. And then the second and the fourth, they could not close the door on Indiana. You get a 5-point lead. Kawhi Leonard gives you his best fourth quarter of the season with those 11 points in that frame. And the Clippers just were unable to build on the backs of that. Tired legs down the stretch. They come out at them down by 5 in that fourth quarter with about 3:07 to go. Harden turns it over. Then they turn it over again on the offensive end, and that was about it. Indiana closes this game on a 19-7 run to come away with the 7-point victory. And at one point, that was a 14-0 run. If you're the Clippers in this one, I mean, you had it. You had this game. This was a very, very good Indiana team. They had won 12 of their last 13 games on the road. They were a top 5 defense in that stretch. They were dominant on the road since their slow start to the season. Adam, they are now 19-5 in their last 24 games after starting the season 10-15. This is an Indiana team that is a top 4 team. You could argue as of late a top 3 team out in the Eastern Conference behind Cleveland and Boston, and they just struggled, or they dominated the Clippers with that pace, forcing turnovers. I mean, if you're the Clippers and you look at Indiana's last 2 games, the Blazers forced 19 Pacer turnovers. The Clippers forced 8. The Clippers forced 8 tonight. You have to have that number higher. This is an offense that gets 18% of their points a night from turnovers. They average 20 a game points off turnovers. They get 7 points off those turnovers. And then you flip the script and you give up 32 points off turnovers to Indiana. That's where you lost the game.
And to me, it comes down to the 3-minute mark of the second quarter. Or right around there. The Clippers at one point, believe it or not, I don't know if this is a franchise record. I don't know if this is going to be a Shaqtin' a Fool type of reel we're going to see on TNT. They had 6 straight turnovers.
Yeah.
6 straight turnovers by different guys. Wasn't just one guy. They tried everything, and they couldn't break the press. And we've seen this from different teams over the past month or so, that all of a sudden they ramp up their defensive intensity. They pick you up full court. And the Clippers just can't handle it. And it's never been more clear than that moment right then, with 6 straight turnovers by a team that led by as many as 22. And you talk about the Indiana Pacers only having 8 turnovers in this ball game, Carlo. This has been an unfortunate trend lately, where the Clippers aren't creating as many. It goes back to the Charlotte game, which is what Coach Lue was talking about after the loss on Tuesday night to the Lakers. He said, I haven't liked the way we've been playing going back to that game, which they won, but they weren't turning Charlotte over. And that was a team that was missing LaMelo Ball. It was missing a lot of guys out there in familiarity, and the Clippers still weren't good enough. And I think it speaks to just a lack of defensive pressure by themselves. Teams are beating the Clippers right now at their own game some, and that is very concerning to see.
It really is when you think about this team and what they're built on and what their identity is. They're a defensive team. You talked about they get deflections, they get steals. That is what they do. And that's why I think a lot of fans should still have confidence in this group, because when they play at their best, it's not about scoring 110 points. It's about holding an opponent to under 100, something they have done 14 times, second in the NBA to just the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Clippers have been so good defensively on the year. I thought They did a great job on Siakam, Adam, in that fourth quarter. I mean, he finished the game 1 for his last 5 from the field, just 33 points, and just 3 of them in the fourth. But the Clippers were unable to slow everyone else. Benedict Mathurin got going in that fourth quarter. He had 7 points for Indiana. Finished with 9 in the fourth. Halliburton, who had been quiet all night, our statistician Chris Taylor passing me this, he also had 9 in the fourth quarter. So the Clippers, while they focused in and honed in on Siakam, did a good job there. It was slowing down everybody else. And it really wasn't that their half-court defense was bad at all tonight. It was the transition defense where the Clippers, we talked about it, they are second in the NBA in defensive rating, which is a overall statistical rating of points per possession that is often used to rate how good your defense is. They are 22nd in transition defense. Just 2 stark differences. And look, they're the 3rd oldest team in the NBA. You're not going to be great at getting back on defense when you have old and tired legs. But Ty Lue always talks about the effort to get back, and it felt like Indiana played with more effort today when you look at the offensive rebounds, the forced turnovers, and their ability to get back in the fast break. I mean, the Pacers, Adam, 9 for 13 in the fast break with 13 points. They get 20 second chance points on a night where they get 32 fast break points. That's 52 hustle points that the Clippers give up tonight.
That's an incredible number. And it's even more worrisome because Coach Lue came out in the pregame. We're sitting there in the presser, and he told everyone exactly what they can't do.
Yeah.
They can't turn it over, and they have to get back and defend when they do. And the Clippers, they knew the game plan. They couldn't execute it outside of the first, 15 minutes of this ball game. After that, the Indiana Pacers just completely exposed them for being a flawed team when it comes to handling ball pressure out there, which led to those 19 turnovers. And 32 points off 19 turnovers is just an extreme number. That is them scoring almost each and every time. And while we have a moment, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. We do see this from Coach Lue post-game, where I think this is some self-criticism and reflection here. Him saying this was probably a game Chris Dunn should have started to handle the Pacers' ball pressure. But then again, the Clippers were up 22.
I mean, he played down the stretch. He played down the stretch. I mean, I don't know. If you're Ty Lue, Adam, obviously, I think Brian Shaw was really honest with us in his pregame interview. He said, look, as a coaching staff, when you're struggling, yes, you have to be on the players, but you also have to be self-reflective as a staff. The Clippers, though, are just losing the hustle plays right now. They are losing the focus plays. It is not that they're being out-schemed. It is not that their defense is necessarily in bad positions. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 possessions in which Siakam gets switched on, but the Clippers don't get back defensively, so Siakam takes advantage. We saw this in Toronto. We saw this last game against the Lakers. When teams get, it's not necessarily always they're scoring before your defense gets set, but they're getting down on offense before your defense gets set, and the Clippers then have to match up. I mean, think about the Laker game. Austin Reeves beats everyone down the floor. Zubac now has to guard Reeves at the top of the key. He scores 5 in a row. The Clippers were down 13. That balloons to 20 in about 58 seconds. That game ends right then and there. And it's Siakam once again beating the Clippers defense down the floor. Because the Clippers are such a good half-court defense, second in the NBA in half-court defense, the focus for teams is going to be to beat their defense down every single time. That is probably bullet point number 1 on the scouting report against the Clippers, and the Clippers know it, but teams just continue to burn them in that area. And I know the Clippers, obviously, a couple pending trades where maybe you could feel like, okay, can this swing the other way once those are official and the Clippers get new bodies in this building? Do we see Patty Mills as maybe a fast break press release guy for this Clipper team, a pressure valve release against the stress of other opponents? You mentioned it, but Ty Lue maybe hinted at it in his last press conference. Do the Clippers make a change because of the pressure that has forced them to fall in these last 3 games? I think anything's on the table right now for Ty Lue. This is a coaching staff understands the severity of dropping 3 in a row in a tightly packed Western Conference. They were healthily out of the play-in. They are now even with Minnesota for that 7 seed. The Clippers have dropped significantly in the standings in a Western Conference that is so congested. They got to find a way to create some space. And look, you got Utah on the second night of a back-to-back, the worst team in the Western Conference with tired legs. That is a take care of business, get some rest, and heal up for 3 days before Memphis and a Utah back-to-back. These are 3 must-wins for the Clippers before All-Star break.
Yeah, this is really a gut check time of the season for the Clippers, an inflection point. Coach Lou's already called him out. He said after the 25-point loss Tuesday night to the Lakers, we got to look ourselves in the mirror. Do we want to go out there and win? Do we want to do the hard things? Tonight, it seemed like the message was received in the first 15 minutes, but after that, it was all the Indiana Pacers. They go on to come back down 22 to win 119-112 here at Intuit Dome over your Los Angeles Clippers, who dropped to 28-23 on the season. Clippers' next ball game coming up Saturday night, right back here, as Carlo mentioned, against the Utah Jazz. 7:30 tip once again. Pregame show starting at 6:30. And if that's not an early season must-win type of ball game, I don't know what is. Carlo, great call as always. Let's do it again Saturday, hopefully with a different result.
We're going to hope so, Adam. We're going to hope so. We got another game on Saturday. And if there's another game, I'm happy about it. Let's go.
Coming up next, your final box score. Clippers fall to Indiana after leading by 22 by a final score of 119-112 here at Intuit Dome. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network.
Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate you. Thank you. Talk to you Saturday.
Tough one, Clipper Nation. Brutal one. Brutal week. This was as bad of a loss, if not worse, than the Lakers' loss. Up 22. Indiana's a very good ball club, playing great. I mean, they've won 13 of their last 14 on the road now, but you're up 22. There's no excuses. I know the cavalry hasn't arrived yet with Bogey out there. It doesn't matter. You have to win this game. You can't have 19 turnovers. You can't have 6 turnovers in a row. 6 turnovers in a row around the 3-minute mark of that second quarter. That is just disastrous. Like I said, Shaq's in a fool type stuff. I don't know how much of that is they just can't handle a press and how much is, we're up big. At that point, they weren't even up that big. So I think it's a real flaw in this team. A real flaw. And I've been saying it for, when was that Warriors game where the Clippers held on, but they had 12 turnovers in that fourth quarter? I thought there were really bad signs then. And teams have been throwing the press at them. The Raptors didn't get as many turnovers on the Clippers, I think, but they kept them from getting into their offense quicker. So that was something else. That was unbelievable. Clippers fall 119-112 to the Indiana Pacers here at Intuit Dome in a game where they led by 22. It was 44-22 with 11:25 to go in the second quarter. Indiana closed the second quarter at a 19-3 run in the last 2 minutes and 57 seconds, mostly because the Clippers, well, they served it up on a silver platter with 6 straight turnovers at one point. They outscored the Clippers in that second quarter 42-19. Siakam had 12 points in the second, 20 in the first half. And the Clippers, well, Indiana turned them over 19 times. They only got 8 turnovers on the Pacers. That's not Clippers basketball. They turn you over. They create points off of turnovers. 20 per game, second best in the league there. And tonight they get 7 points off of 8 turnovers. This is hopefully a wake-up call. Hopefully a moment where the Clippers can right some wrongs and figure this out. They did outscore Indiana in the third quarter, 27-20. They led by 4 heading into the fourth. But this was brutal. For Kawhi to have 11 points, 11 of his 19 in the fourth, play the first almost 10 minutes of the fourth quarter, and the Clippers be leading by 5 to get then outscored 19-7 at the end of this ball game, where, again, a couple of bad turnovers late. Norman Powell stepping out of bounds, a Zoo turnover, going to DJ, Halliburton layup the other way. 32 points off of the Clippers' 19 turnovers is extreme, is unreal. Clippers gave away a ball game. You lead by 22, there's no excuses. Self-inflicted wounds, and the Clippers simply not holding on, not finishing, not showing killer instinct out there, and looking tired at times, old, fatigued. I know we'll talk about it on Clippers Talk, 866-987-2570, 866-987-2570. Coming up next, we'll get into more of this final box score. Clippers fall to Indiana, 119-112 in a game they led by 22 in here at the Dome. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Indiana, 19-7 run, the last 3 minutes and 11 seconds of the game. 19 points in 3 minutes and 11 seconds. Zoo gets up 11 shots again. Wasn't that what he got up against the Raptors too? In a game where he played 40 minutes and the Raptors are playing small just like Indiana had to. By the way, they didn't have Miles Turner the majority of this game. I agree with Toby in this respect. It's a try-hard team. The margin for error is too slim. It wasn't a great game from Kawhi, but he did turn it on the fourth with 11 of his 19. And he did get to, in the end, Kawhi played 33 minutes and 29 seconds. Most he has played so far this season. But this is a real moment of truth time for the Clippers on Saturday. If they don't beat Utah, oh my. I didn't say it was a good game. I don't think Kawhi played poorly in the fourth quarter, though. And it's encouraging to see him get to 34 minutes. So there's context to everything. I don't just say it's all this or all that. If you can't handle that, find another show. That's how it goes. I'm going to go through the actual plays that happen out there. I know people are freaking out and melting down. This is unacceptable. Kawhi should retire. Clippers lost a basketball game they shouldn't have. Clippers lose 119-112 here at Intuit Dome to the Indiana Pacers in a game where they were up by 22 in. Brutal loss, Clipper Nation, after what I thought was their worst loss of the season on Tuesday night to the Lakers, who beat them by 25. Tonight they led by 22. Take your pick your poison. Both were ugly losses. This is the low point of the season so far. We hope this is the low point of the season, right? Pacers are a good ball club. They've won 13 of their last 14 on the road. They weren't going to give in or give up because they were down 22, and they flipped the game around to being up by 7 after being down by 22 in the second quarter. A 29-13 point turnaround in a quarter. That is difficult to do. How does it happen? The Clippers had 6 straight turnovers at one point. Another just unreal, maybe historic number. Clippers ended up shooting 47% from the field, 17 of 40 from the outside. That's 43%, but 10 of their 17 threes came in the first quarter. They almost tied the record for threes made in a quarter in this game that they lost. In this game, they were up by 22 in. The record's 11 threes in a quarter made. Who did that? Boston against the Clippers earlier this season in Boston. And the Clippers go off like that with 10 made three-pointers in the first quarter. They're leading 42-22. They get up 44-22 early in the second quarter. And there's a 29-point turnaround within 10 minutes. That's unbelievable. Clippers with 19 turnovers leading to 32 points, and the Pacers just 8, leaving to 7 points. They had 7 more shot attempts than the Clippers. This box score, I was 32 points off of turnovers. If you told me that was going to happen tonight and you didn't tell me which team created that, I'd say the Clippers. Right now, they're getting beat at their own game. They're turning the basketball over, which is something they do, but 32 points off of those 19 turnovers is a crazy number. And they only generate 8 themselves. Pascal Siakam led everyone with 33 points. Benedict Mathurin had 25. Clippers had Norman Powell and James Harden both with 22. Norman Powell was just 8 of 20 from the field, 4 of 12 from the outside. James 7 of 14, 4 of 9 from 3. 10 assists to 4 turnovers. Kawhi 7 of 16, 19 points, 11 of which came in the fourth quarter. Big Zoo had 18 points, 18 of 15 on 8 of 11 shooting. How does he only get 11 shots? Miles Turner is out of the game early. Hopefully he's okay. I'm sure he went into concussion protocols after he took some friendly fire. Looked like an elbow or a forearm on a rebound where he got hit by Mathurin and then stumbled as he was going to the bench. It was a scary scene here. Miles Turner's out of the most. Miles Turner ended up playing, 5 minutes and 47 seconds. The rest of the time they were either playing small or had Thomas Bryant out there, and Ivica Zubac gets up 11 shots. For the life of me, I'll never understand it. Clippers lose 119-112 here at Intuit Dome in game 1 after the trade deadline. Outside of Los Angeles, we are leaving you until Saturday night, right back here. Clippers taking on the Utah Jazz. Tip-off 7:30, pregame 6:30 in LA. Do not go anywhere. We got Clippers talk next. I mean, do we have to go full doomer like this? Have you guys not been through ruts in the season before? I get there's some stuff that have been consistent flaws all season long with this team that reared their ugly heads again tonight, like the turnovers. There's real stuff in this game that's indicative of who the Clippers are and some of the flaws they have. Whether or not they'll be remedied by Bogdan Bogdanović and whoever they get in the buyout market, if they get someone. But I just 19 turnovers, 6 straight. Okay, so they have 3 straight turnovers at one point in the first quarter, a sign of things to come. But they overcome it. They get up big. It was just sloppy, careless basketball, those turnovers. They can't handle the ball pressure. They can't handle the press. Then they have 6 straight at one point at the 3-minute mark of the second quarter, where the Pacers just turned up the heat and the Clippers got burned. They couldn't handle it. Too hot to handle. So they let go of the basketball. 6 straight turnovers. Then, in a close game down the stretch out of a timeout, they turned the ball over twice in back-to-back possessions. And then one more time as James Harden had a ridiculously bad turnover at half court. Halliburton dunk after that. Halliburton might have created an injury with Derek Jones Jr. as he juked him and Norman Powell out of their shoes. Norm steps on DJ's ankle at the end of the game. You want to talk about insult to injury? Hopefully he's okay, because that was just unbelievable. Eubanks did look good. Kawhi got to 34 minutes almost and had 11 of his 19 in the fourth quarter at least. But outside of that, not a lot of positives here. Gotcha. The Clippers led this ball game 44-22 with 11:28 left in the second quarter and somehow lose it. They lost a 22-point lead to the Indiana Pacers and fall 119-112 here at Intuit Dome. Welcome back. I'm Adam Osland. This is Clippers Talk on AM 570 LA Sports, 866-987-2570. 866-987-2570 is the phone number. I don't know if you categorize this as their worst loss of the season or losing by 25 to the Lakers on Tuesday, but this is definitely the worst week of the season so far for the Clippers. Worst week ever. This is a low point of the season because it looked like they were responding to everything Coach Lue had said post-game after the loss to the Lakers Tuesday night when they were up by 22. Was it fool's gold? All those threes falling for them? A lot of them were open. The ball movement was there. I liked what I was seeing, obviously, in the first quarter. The Clippers almost tied an NBA record for threes made in a quarter in a game they lost. They went 10 of 15 from three in the first quarter. The record is 11 made threes in a quarter, held by the Boston Celtics as they did that against the Clippers in Boston this season where they just couldn't miss anything. They take over 50 threes a game. Of course, that's the team that has the record for most threes in a quarter, but the Clippers are right there, 10 of 15. They're up 42-22. They get up 44-22 in the second. And at one point, they're down by seven, I should say, in the second quarter. That is a 29-point turnaround. How does that happen, you ask? Well, it takes a lot of turnovers and a lot of extra possessions and easy buckets going the other way against you. Self-inflicted wounds, miscues, poor judgment calls, lack of focus. That is, historically bad. At one point, after the Clippers led by 22 in the second quarter, they're down by, I think it ended up being 6 at 64-58. So a 28-point turnaround because there was a three-pointer that was corrected to a two-pointer. A 28-point turnaround in 11 minutes. In 11 minutes, a 28-point turnaround from up 22 to down 6. 6 straight turnovers around the 3-minute mark of the second. Who had them? Who's responsible? Zoo had one. Derek Jones Jr., Amir Coffey, James Harden, Derek Jones Jr., Norman Powell. So it's an array of guys, a potpourri of turnovers. But the underlying problem is they don't have enough ball handlers. Hopefully Bogey can help them in that area. And they just don't handle the press well. And I've been saying this for a while, and this is why I say a win is never a win. When the Golden State Warriors turned them over 12 times in a fourth quarter a month ago, whenever it was, in a game the Clippers still won because they were leading by so much, they could withstand turning the ball over 12 times in the fourth quarter to still win that game here at Intuit Dome, 102-92. I said, look out. Yeah, they may have won the ball game. That is a bad win. Why? Because you just gave red meat to the rest of the league that says, we can't handle the press. You get into our airspace, we're going to hand you the basketball on a silver platter. I said it then, and it's been happening. Tonight, this was your disaster class or disaster piece of just absolute unserious basketball when it came to turnovers by this Clippers team. They got a problem. They got a flaw. Now, I've also been saying, hey, Kawhi gets back to playing regular minutes. That's going to help out the turnovers. And they have been down. They were, I want to say a week ago, when Kawhi was about 10 games in, the Clippers in games that he played were only turning it over 13 times per game, which is much better than the almost 17 times per game they're at on the year. But tonight, Kawhi played almost 34 minutes, his season high, and they still had 19 turnovers, and they had some of the worst turnovers you will see. The second unit looked bad to start the second quarter. Remember, Kawhi said that second group with himself has to be better. They weren't. Okay, there are so many issues in a ball game where you lead by 22 and give it away to point to. I don't know if I got enough time. I'm taking you till the top of the hour, though. But I am telling you, it's a real issue. The Clippers and turnovers. I think it's fatigue. I think it's high usage for certain players, older guys, because it takes juice and explosiveness sometimes to break the press. Sometimes it's not just passing. It's obviously having your defender making you turn multiple times in the backcourt and you withstanding that, not turning the ball over if they're going to pick you up 94 feet. They're going to try to turn you, and you just have to have the stamina, the energy, the on-ball juice to get through it. And the Clippers don't. Kawhi had some bad turnovers. He had 5 of them. A couple that looked, I think 2 in the fourth quarter, even though he had 11 of his 19 points there. And I wouldn't say he had a great game by any stretch just because he had a good fourth quarter shooting-wise. And he did get to 34 minutes, which is encouraging, but he had some bad turnovers that looked to be fatigue. Both teams at one point looked gassed after a frenetic pace in the first half. It caught up with them. And it was a slower game in the second half. Nobody was having a 42-point quarter like the Clippers did in the first quarter, like the Pacers did in the second quarter. The Clippers guys, they went just about 5 minutes scoreless in that second quarter. After a Eubanks tip-in, who was good tonight. If you're looking for a bright spot, I thought Drew Eubanks played well. I liked his hustle. He ended up a 0 in the net rating, which you would take in a game like this. But it's single game net rating. It doesn't mean that much. I just thought eye test said he played hard. He had a dunk, I think, in the open court. He ran the court well. And he has much more of a motor than Mo Bamba, and that's all I'm looking for. I think he's better than Mo Bamba. I know a lot of you are concerned with Kawhi Leonard and saying some wild stuff like he should retire, Kawhi's washed, all these things. I've just heard this stuff so much before, and then Kawhi hits the gas, and he looks like a top 5 player in the league again. The start of last season, it was better than this, of course, but it wasn't great. It was the game against the Kings where he kind of snapped out of it, where he had that dunk on JaVale McGee, where he started playing quicker, faster, was making quicker decisions out there. And then he went on that stretch where he had the all-time efficiency record over a 30-game stretch where he was shooting 57, 51, 92 shooting splits. But I've seen a similar Kawhi that we saw when he came back from the ACL. where he's really picking his spots. He's not being overly aggressive. And maybe that's all it is. Because I'm seeing him long on some of these jumpers. If he was short on everything, I'd say he has no lift. I'm seeing him long on a lot of these. And a lot of the shots he was missing through the first 3 quarters, well, they were the same shots that fell in the fourth. Like, he had a quick move. We went past Siakam for a floater in the fourth early on. He had some quick moves. He had some times out there where he looked slow, obviously. Or he was stuck in quicksand. Like, I think this is game 13 for him. I know that. And this is part of the process, the ramp up. Because remember, they were saying at first he's in preseason mode. Now, I will say this, in a game where he plays almost 34 minutes, he probably needs to get closer to 20 shots. He was at 16, but he took a lot in the fourth quarter. And I would have loved seeing him be more aggressive in the second and third quarters when Indiana was making their move. This is a great comment. They need to trade everyone, get picks, and rebuild. The trade deadline was today, Junior. Adam Richard. The trade deadline has passed. We'll take a quick timeout for my sanity. 866-987-2570. 866-987-2570 is the phone number. This guy's just getting a straight mute. That's such a ridiculous comment. At Clippers Talk on YouTube. Maybe it's a troll. I don't know who's real, who's not. It's the internet. Clippers lose a 22-point lead and fall 119-112 here into a dome to the Indiana Pacers. I'm Adam Moslin, and you're listening to Clippers Talk here on AM 570 LA Sports. Like, Kawhi, people say it's the type of shots. It's like he's getting the same type of shots. Kawhi missing mid-range shots that he typically makes. Kawhi hasn't been a downhill, get to the rim guy really ever, but I'm seeing the same type of movement I saw last year from him. I'm not seeing anything noticeably different with his movement that I saw last season when he set the all-time efficiency record. So I'm not going to say he's washed, he's done. I've seen this story before when he came back from the ACL. I saw this story. I remember at times his first year as a Clipper. People were saying, oh, the Clippers got Wizards Jordan. I have seen so many times the reports of Kawhi's demise have been greatly exaggerated many times before. Many times before. And then he hits the gas, and he has a month where he averages 27. Toby, there's no way to know yet if Kawhi Leonard has lost a step or anything because we have seen this so many times before, is the point. Where he has stretches like this, coming back from injury, and then he turns it around. So I'm just not willing to say that yet. I don't know how logically that doesn't make sense to people. Yeah, Dunn was 0 for 1 from 3 tonight, so he's 1 for his last 22 from 3. I think a lot of it's just confidence and in his head at this point, but I'm going to pull some post-game quotes now. The Pacers in the second quarter turned a 13-point deficit into a 6-point lead in less than 3 minutes of game time. A 19-point turnaround in less than 3 minutes. I'm looking at the Indiana Pacers Twitter account, X account, whatever you want to call it, after the Clippers blow a 22-point lead and lose 119-112 here to the Pacers at Into a Dome. Welcome back in. I'm Adam Moslin. This is Clippers Talk. And you're looking at these turnovers during this time frame of this 19-point turnaround. As Law Murray said, this clip should inspire every team the Clippers play. They are never out of a game. These are soft turnovers in the most elementary of basketball plays. It's the same stuff I saw with the 12 turnovers they had against the Warriors in that fourth quarter. I go back to that game. I think the 12 turnovers in that fourth quarter in a game they won by 10 against Golden State here at Intuit Dome gave teams the blue book. That was the red meat. That was ding, 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 red flag. Uh-oh. Clippers can't handle the press. This is a real issue. But everybody said a win's a win, Adam. What's the problem? Do you think teams just walk into the locker room, win or loss, and say, well, we're going to hit the Men in Black memory eraser mechanism thing, and they just forget about all the context and how they won or how they lost? I'm telling you, a win is not a win. A loss is not a loss. It matters how you play out there. It matters to build good habits. It matters what you put on tape for teams to watch, because they're going to expose your flaws. And the Clippers, they were putting out bad tape. And that eventually leads to a loss like this. And maybe the loss to the Raptors too. Other teams are picking them up full court selectively, not all game. But when they ramp up that full court pressure, the Clippers can't handle it. I'm telling you, that's the issue. I'm looking for post-game quotes from Coach Lue. But that is a real issue. So I never want to hear a win's a win, a loss is a loss. Again, doesn't matter how you lose, you get blown out. No, it all matters. It all goes into what happens next. And this is as disappointing of a week with the loss of the Lakers and now tonight's loss up by 22 as you can have. So hopefully the Clippers respond. I can't say enough about how unbelievably bad these turnovers are. Just watch the tape. Maybe that's encouraging because it should be correctable or fixable, but I don't know because it keeps happening. So, are they going to get the message? Is anybody going to be convinced if they win by 20 against Utah that the Clippers are fine now? No. Here's Coach Lue postgame. This is interesting. He said, quote, I didn't mind tonight's game. You're not going to win every game. Just things we can learn. He said the Clippers had the right intent, but were hurt by careless turnovers and mental mistakes. I mean, they were up by 22. Seemed like they had the right intent then. There were some good things. But here's James Harden postgame. He doesn't think there's any specific themes for the Clippers during this losing streak. He said, nope, it's a long season. It's the NBA. All right. Well, I hope the guys, if they're not going to dwell on it too much, can somehow spin this into a winning streak coming up before the All-Star break. Because we're almost there. They do have 3 days coming up, which I don't know if guys are looking ahead to those 3 days off or not. But at this point, with some of the stuff I've seen, I think it's worth thinking about. I think it's worth thinking about whether they let up at times because Kawhi is back. We all know this is 1 of 82, but it's not 1. We said that last game. Now it's 2. It's the Raptors game. They've lost 3 in a row in different ways, but not handling ball pressure well, teams playing faster. That does give them issues, even though, look, Indiana came out playing fast. The Clippers were up by 22. So I don't even know. It's a little bit difficult to decipher the theme or the pattern or the trend, or exactly what's going on. But overall, the Clippers have had a turnover issue this year. It's been their Achilles heel. That has consistently been there. And tonight was their disaster piece. It's not just they only had 19 turnovers. I say only because they've had more than that this season at times. But 32 points off of 19 turnovers, the amount of easy layups and dunks that the Pacers got in key moments too late in the game, where they outscored the Clippers 19-7 the last 3:11 of the ball game. There were some pretty bad, inexcusable possessions. Like you look at the 19-3 run, the last 2:57 of the second quarter, and then the 19-7 run, the last 3:11 of the ball game. It's like they're getting outscored 38-10 there in what? A little over 6 minutes of play? That's tough to overcome. Quick timeout. We'll come back. More Clippers talk. They lose a 22-point lead and fall 119-112 to the Indiana Pacers. Looking for more post-game quotes from the players and Coach Lou after this one. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to AM 570 LA Sports. What's up, bro? Yeah. Law Murray and I are having like a retweet chat here. This is kind of funny. He brought up how, so that game against the Warriors I keep bringing up, guys, where they had 12 turnovers in that fourth quarter, but hey, they won by 10 anyways. Who cares? They got away with it. Did they? I feel like other teams picked up on that. So he said that was after they had 3 days off. That was December 27th. So a little over a month ago. And Law pointed out how that wasn't the first time either. Thank you, Daniel. Law also said maybe if they lost that game, things would be different. Sometimes you lose a game, but you learn something, or you lose in such miserable fashion that you don't let it happen again. Maybe them getting away with winning that game built some bad habits because they haven't figured it out yet. I don't know. Some of these, watch the tape with some of these turnovers. The Pacers put it up there. A 19-point turnaround in less than 3 minutes, that's crazy. The question is, and I'll bring it up as we come in here. Clippers lose a 22-point lead and fall 119-112 to the Indiana Pacers. A 22-point lead that was lost in the second quarter. Not over the span of 3 quarters. They were up big early and slowly the Pacers chipped away. They lost. There was a 19-point turnaround in this ball game in less than 3 minutes late in the second quarter because the Clippers had 6 straight turnovers. Welcome back into Clippers Talk. I'm Adam Moslin, 866-987-2570, 866-987-2570. My question, Clipper Nation, is, are these things fixable and correctable? It looks like Bogey's coming in. Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's another ball handler who can create for himself. He can play on ball, off ball. That's a big need for this team, especially because you make a trade like that, so you're missing ball handlers in KPJ and Terrence Mann. He probably wouldn't have played much tonight anyways, but one of the guys coming in from this trade, or the guy coming in from this trade, one of them, is somebody that can help in this area. My question is, are these things fixable and correctable with this Clippers team? Is what's happening, do they have it within them on this roster when Bogey is here to fix it? Or are these fatal flaws? Is this just a problem that they might not be able to overcome? That's worrisome. Let's hear from Nick, who's leaving the game. Nick, you got 30 seconds here on Clippers Talk just so we can get everybody in. Nick, what's up? Nick, I appreciate the phone call. I mean, I agree with you. I don't like overreacting too much. It's not so much that the Clippers lost 2 games in a row, 3 games in a row now. It's the way they've been losing and this one flaw that's been going on consistently all season long, which is the turnovers. I admit, I felt like you get Kawhi back, and if he's playing 35 minutes a night, and granted, he's not there yet consistently. He played almost 34 tonight. I've said all along, Kawhi can fix this. Just having Kawhi out there is another ball handler. He brings the ball up a ton. That will alleviate some of the burden on James Harden. But tonight, obviously, goes against that. I just worry that this team has developed bad habits when it comes to these turnovers, because they started pretty early in the season. They aren't stopping. Their defense has been so good throughout most of the year, they've gotten away with it. But now the defense isn't playing as well. They give up 119 points tonight. I'll check the defensive rating in a little bit to see if they're still second in the league. But over the last 6 games coming into this one, they've been 21st defensively. We'll take one more phone call before we break. Jose and Downey, you're on Clippers Talk with Adam Osman. Quickly, Jose. Well, did they have it when they were up 22, Jose? Tell me that. That's a great point. Siakam. Yeah. I mean, I get it. I get that part of it, Jose, but a lot of teams do that now, and it's because the shooting, it's like if you don't switch, you're going to end up leaving a guy open. But I get what you're saying. I think it's a really good point. What Jose just said there, appreciate the phone call, Jose. It's like, okay, when things got tight, when things got tough, were the Clippers at their best? No. It looked like they were going to pull through and win this game up 5 late, and then there's a 19-7 run that goes against them and more turnovers. They had regained control of the ball game after being down double digits, I believe, early in the fourth quarter, I want to say. They were down, 114 to 105. They were down by 9. I don't know. That was too late in the fourth quarter. But up 5, they were in control. It felt like that. I thought the Clippers were going to salvage this game. At the 3:31 mark, Derrick Jones Jr., I think, had a tip-in. It's 105-100, and Siakam hits a 3. That was a big shot. Then there's the timeout. Then Norm either stepped out of bounds. Some were calling it a block, at least on the game log. I thought he stepped out of bounds, and that was a turnover. Halliburton hits a 3. So now the Clippers are down 106 to 105. They were just up by 5. And then Ivica Zubac has a bad pass, I think looking for DJ. Halliburton run out, easy bucket. Now they're down 3. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll close things out. Clippers led by 22, and they lose this one 119 to 112. The day of the trade deadline to the Indiana Pacers. I'm Adam Osland, and this is AM 570 LA Sports. Hey, guys, this is true. Kawhi did go to the bench around that time. But the problem is, even when he's at 35, 36 minutes a night again, he's not going to play the entire fourth quarter, and he just had a bad turnover where he looked gassed. Because he came out, I think, at the 3-minute mark. He had played, the first 7 minutes? No, he came out at the 141 mark. So, guys, Kawhi played the first 10 minutes of the fourth. Like, obviously, he's coming out at some point. Even if he's right and at 35 minutes a night, he's not going to play the entire fourth quarter. They would have managed it differently, so he would have played the last 10 minutes instead of the first 10 minutes. But Kawhi came out for Chris Dunn, and they're down 108 to 105. So he was on the court when that swing happened. Up by 5 to down by 3 at 108 to 105 after the Halliburton steal, bad pass by Zubats. It's not even just one guy tonight being responsible. It's never one guy, but it's not like James Harden came out and had 10 turnovers. He had 4. 10 to 4 is not great, but Kawhi had 5. I mean, he did have some bad ones. 5 is a lot for Kawhi. In fact, that might tie like a career high for turnovers in a game for Kawhi Leonard. And then I hear the same stuff. This team needed to play like Jeremy Grant or John Collins to slide Kawhi down. It's like that's why they had 6 straight turnovers, because they didn't have a power forward. I don't know. Kawhi was playing power forward when they were up 22. First, the Clippers have a 25-point loss on Tuesday night, their worst loss in 15 years to the Lakers. And now tonight, they make it their 3rd straight loss, 4th loss in their last 6 games, 6th loss in their last 10 now, in a contest where they were up by 22 on the Indiana Pacers. They fall 119 to 112. Welcome back into Clippers Talk. I'm Adam Osland. It's frustrating, Clipper Nation. I'm with you. I don't like what I'm seeing either. And yeah, I have some concerns about Kawhi. I'm not going to he's washed, he's done after 13 games. I'm not doing that. I have some concerns. It could just be he's tired because he's only played 13 games. So he could be getting his second wind. Hopefully. You know, it takes a certain amount of games to get into NBA shape. The good news is he played 34 minutes almost tonight. So his minutes restriction has been lessened. Maybe it's been lifted. And he did have 11 of his 19 in the fourth. If you're looking for positives, it is that, and Drew Eubanks played well. I like what he brought. I saw hustle. I saw energy. I saw somebody who I said, can he just be like a slightly better version of Daniel Tice? He had a tip in off a done miss in the second quarter. Really nice play. He can run. He can beat his man down the floor. He can get back on defense. He has a motor. But outside of that, these are difficult times. Now, hopefully Bogdan Bogdanovic is playing on Saturday, and that's another plus because he's been one of my favorites in the NBA. And I think a change of scenery is going to be big for him. Everybody's talking about he's 32 and he's played only 24 games and he's had some little nagging injuries this season and he hasn't shot it well. Low sample size, low volume. And I think just being in a winning environment after being with Atlanta for so long, I think the rejuvenation station is going to work wonders on Bogey. I'm expecting that. Before we get out of here, I do want to thank the Clippers organization, Ralph Lawler, Brian Seaman, Noah Ego, Carlo Jimenez on the call, Big Brother Jake Warner, our head engineer here, statistician Chris Taylor. Back in the bank, Daniel West, our producer. Appreciate you, Daniel. Until tomorrow, where I got Ricky G coming on from Twitter at noon on Clippers Talk live. Look for that. You know, Coach. I'm Adam Oz, and we'll talk to you then. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Definitely check out that show with Ricky G. That'll be fun. I'm excited for that at noon Pacific tomorrow. We'll talk about the trade deadline, the Clippers, the Warriors. He's a big Warriors fan. What happened with Luka? We'll go around the league a little bit, but it's Clippers talk, so